Good morning and welcome back to Diving Deep into Eberron, where today on this live stream I'm joined by Seraphis, and we are going to be continuing our deep dive through the Eberron campaign setting for Dungeons and Dragons edition or 3.5 edition version, whatever. I don't know.
3.14159.
Something like that. Yes, the Dungeons and Dragons Pie edition. Personally, I go for lemon meringue, but that's just me. Anyways, how you doing, Seraphis?
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad. I mean, that doesn't sound like you're doing good.
It's still hot here, but
You said it was only 34. Again, go put on a sweater.
Celsius.
Who uses Celsius? Come on.
About 90% of the world.
Okay. And if 90% of the world jumped off a bridge, would you follow them?
If America was doing it too, no. My modus operandi is always, whatever America is doing, do the opposite. It's kind of like my philosophy with the Silver Flame. If the Silver Flame says something, you should definitely believe the opposite.
Well, I mean, if the Silver Flame says it, it's just because the werewolves deserved it. I don't know why it's so much fun to tease you about the Silver Flame and the lycanthropes. Anyhow, all right. Well, folks, for those of you that are here and those of you that are watching this on replay, do want to apologize for last week. I am still fighting whatever plague the universe has decided to gift me with. And last week was just even worse. So we opted to take a week off, but we are back now. Which is also annoying because we are 1 week out from Christmas. And if you are a celebrant of Christmas, let's just say that I'm no, but but that does also mean it may impact us doing a stream next week as well. So keep an eye out on the community tab. If nothing else, I will get a post up there letting everyone know. But, hopefully it's just a case of, needing to take a break. Now, the week after, that's New Year's Day. And let's be honest, you're all still, going to have a hangover from the day before. So, what better than to just sit and listen to Seraphis and I, ramble on, right?
Sure.
My co-host, always full of the witty quips. Anyhow, so with all of that said, if you're enjoying the stream, do make sure give it a like. If you're new here, make sure you're subscribed. We are getting close to the end. But we do have at least a few more weeks left on this, and we'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. And all right, so last tiny bit of housekeeping. We are going to try and speed run the rest of this chapter today. We'll see how well that works. So what does that mean? If you've watched the last couple of episodes, we did go fairly deep into all of the nations. But this time, we're actually going to cut about half of it out. This chapter has just been a slog, and we need to get through this. And what are you laughing about, Seraphis?
So previously we were going in deep, but now it's just the tip.
Just the tip. Just the tip. Anyway. So we'll still give you some good information about these nations, but we are just going to keep it to the main overview. One of the major settlements in the nation, an important location in the nation, and then give you an adventuring idea. So that is the plan. We'd like to finish that up today, and then that means like 1 or 2 more deep dive episodes, and then Seraphis is actually going to run a basically a little one shot of Eberron, which I don't think we've actually announced this yet, have we? I mean, we've talked about it behind the scenes.
Not here, no. We've talked about it on Talking Direct like 1,000 times because nobody watches that.
That's true. So we are going to do that. For those of you who are interested in playing with us, I do apologize. We have our players already, so we're kind of keeping it, quote unquote, a little in-house. But again, we're kind of getting used to this, so we're gonna see how well it works, anyways. So, all right, have I rambled enough today? Should we switch over and finally start, doing what we're here for?
Well, it really depends on what we're here for, but yep.
Shenanigans, but then also some Eberron.
Okay.
All right. Since we haven't discussed it, do you want to jump in first today, or do you want me to take it?
I'll start off first. That's fine.
All right.
Papa. The Odin Reaches cover the northwestern region of Corvair to the Shadow Crag Mountains. The Eastern Reaches features fertile plains and rolling hills, but dense forests cover the majority of the nation. These forests house some of the most primeval trees on the continent, ancient growths that have survived the rise and fall of empires and witnessed the arrival of humans on the shores of Corvair. The forces of magic permeate these woods, and strange beasts and mischievous fae roam the land. Many dangers also lurk in the deep woods, and the humanoids who make their homes in these forests don't always take kindly to visitors. By the way, did you remember to post the links of this going live?
I did. I posted it on Twitter. I posted it in the Legion of Myth Discord. I don't think I have anywhere else really to post it.
Okay, I probably then should have posted it to every other place in our network community, should I?
Oh yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, the other 14 places. That's
Look, I struggle with Discord.
Well, once you take over, I'll do that then.
Sounds great.
The deep woods of the Odin Reaches remain mostly as uncultivated and pure as they were when the world was young. In the Age of Monsters, when the Goblinoids forged an empire across Corvair, the Odin Reaches were the domain of orcs, who sought to live in harmony with the wilderness. The orcs were devastated and decimated in the war against the Dalkir. As a result of this terrible conflict, the forest was seeded with aberrations and horrid creatures formed by the sinister shapes of flesh. Millennia passed, and humans came to Corvair. As the nations that would one day join together as Galifar took shape, the Odin Reaches were largely left alone thanks to takes of the haunted forest west of the Wynern River, filled with monsters and demons. Still, over the course of centuries, humans and members of other common races slowly drifted into the Reaches. Some came in search of land and property, land and opportunity. Hunters and warriors devoted to the Silver Flame came to battle evil magical beasts, eventually driving the more dangerous creatures into the deep woods. Others were drawn to the woods, called by a force they could not name. Deep in the ancient forest, those who heard the call met with the great druid Oalian, an awakened great pine who has watched over the woods for more than 4,000 years. He taught those who heard his call the ways of the wild and the duties of the ancient gatekeepers. His teachings inspired all the druid sects that eventually grew up in the Reaches. Centuries passed, the druid society grew and spread throughout the forest, which came to be known as the Towering Wood. The younger, trying not to make a joke there, the younger races brought their own customs and perspectives to the Reaches, of course, and Oalian's teachings had already begun to diverge from those of the original gatekeepers. In time, the druids fragmented into a dozen sects. Meanwhile, don't even start. Don't even start.
I wasn't going to, and then you had to bring it up.
Meanwhile, the nation of Ondair claimed the fertile plains along the eastern edge of the woods, and farmers and settlers spread across the river. Despite minor conflicts between shifter and settler and druid, and even among the druids themselves, the region prospered. The last war proved to be the undoing of the old order. As the conflict intensified, Ondair pulled its forces back to protect its heartland and eastern borders, leaving the Eldeen Reaches to fend for themselves. Bandit lords sponsored by Karnath and the Lazar Principalities harried the farms west of the Wainan River, using the forest as a base and staging ground. In the south, Brealish troops crossed the Silver Lake to occupy Silbaran, Greenblade, and Urklaska. As things went from bad to worse, an army of druids and rangers emerged from the forest. In 956 YK, the Wardens of the Wood rallied the farmers and peasants, crushing the bandit army before it knew what was happening. With order restored in the north, the Wardens turned their attention to the south. In 959 YK, they finally succeeded in driving the Brealish forces back across the lake. Angry at the Ondarian crown for abandoning them, the people swore allegiance to the Great Druid, breaking all ties with the Lords of Ondair and resisting several Ondair attempts to regain control. Since 958 YK, the people of the Eldeen Reaches have considered themselves to be part of an independent nation, and they were finally recognized as such with the signing of the Treaty of Thronehold. It remains to be seen whether Ondair will try to reclaim its old territories now that the last war has ended.
All right, so first up, I gotta say, I like what they've done with this. They took the old fantasy trope of, the deep dark forest, and just put a little bit of a spin on it. And they didn't even do much to it. It's still just like, oh yeah, it's a deep dark forest. There's probably some mean monsters in the back, but lots of druids and trees and whatnot. Yeah. I think it's good that they just kind of stuck to the trope as opposed to trying to, to just reinvent it or something.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Because you don't need to be reinventing the wheel every time. There are ways to, like, what was I? There was something. Damn it, my brain. Nope, gone. Damn. I was going to make a comparison to something, and I can't remember what it was, but it's basically how you can, like, for example, you can tell a fantasy setting with all the usual fantasy fairy tale like tropes, but you don't always have to follow that exactly. You can always keep the trope and change the spin,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what they've done here with the Eldeen Reaches really well, is that, it's got the trope of the deep, dark woods that are scary and dangerous, but it's also a place where like druids and rangers have basically built their own nation, and when too many bad things kept happening, they just kind of decided, screw this, we're just gonna form into an army and drive these things out of our territory.
Right, exactly. Now you want to come in and, collect your taxes, do whatever? No, sorry. You abandoned us one too many times. So,
And that's the funny part, one too many times.
yeah. Fair. Right. No, exactly. So you still get your deep dark wood, but, there is at least some sort of a civilization there as opposed to just the empty wood. Which again, it's not necessarily new or unique to them, but it's just they're adding in a lot of those regular tropes, in addition to the regular monsters and classes and things like that. So yeah, I like it. I think it's a good way to present it. All right, so this is where we're going to diverge from the other ones. We're just going to skip over. You all saw me kind of, skipping over a lot of the pages, and so now we're going to look at I'm actually going to look at 2 towns on this one. Okay, we're going to look at the capital of Greenheart, and then we're also going to look at Varna, basically because Greenheart apparently is a small town, and Varna is a small city. So, anyways, I like to look at the capital, but we'll look at Varna as well. All right, so tucked deep in the towering wood, Greenheart is the home to the Wardens of the Wood. The community takes its name from the sacred grove in the center of the village, a manifest zone linked to Lamania, the Twilight Forest. The great druid Oalian spends his days in the grove. He speaks to visitors, but rarely moves. Aspirants who wish to learn the ways of the Wardens of the Wood come to Greenheart for training in the druidic mysteries. The community hovers at around 1,000 residents for most of the year. Students and preceptors, the guards and attendants of the Great Druid's Grove, the elder druids who coordinate the actions of the warden across the region, and hunters and gatherers who provide for the people of the village. However, the population increases exponentially during conclaves or important druid ceremonies, when members of all sects converge on Greenheart. At these times, the population can increase by thousands, with druids and rangers, many of them in animal form, camped out around Greenheart in all directions, while their animal companions mingle freely. Greenheart is a religious community. The druids give shelter and sustenance to travelers who respect the land. But the town has no marketplace or tavern. Some folk live in simple buildings formed from shaped earth that has been transmuted to stone. Others live up among the trees of the towering wood on platforms created through the use of wood shape. All druid and ranger spells cast within Oalian's grove are extended. Okay, so it's a druid circle in the middle of the woods. Surprise, surprise. All right, so while Greenheart is the spiritual capital of the Eldeen Reaches, Varna is its largest city and the center for trade and contact with the rest of Corvair. Varna, the greatest stronghold of House Vidalis, contains ranches and training facilities for the dozens of different types of creatures that Vidalis deals in. It's a popular joke that the stables here are finer than the houses, and there's some truth to this. Even when applied to the quarters of Dallin de Vidalis, the house patriarch, a shrewd, hands-on breeder with an uncanny empathy for and knowledge of how to handle both animals and people. If an adventurer seeks a top-grade mage-bred warhorse or Pegasus to serve as a mount, Varna is the place to go. Most of the dragon-marked houses have a presence in Varna. A thriving black market for goods that poachers have acquired from the Great Wood also operates within the city. The wardens take action against anyone found in possession of such material, including items such as unicorn horns or displacer beast pelts. While Varna focuses on animal husbandry, the architecture and tone of the city matches its counterparts in Onder. Even in the bitter final days of the war, House Vidalis managed to remain on good terms with Onder, thanks in no small part to the patriarch's brother having married the Onder queen. One of the notable features of the city is the Hunter's Grove, an enormous temple dedicated to the sovereign Lord Balinor, the patron deity of House Vidalis. All right. If you want a horse, go to Varna.
Not just any horse, a mage-bred horse.
That's true. And what mage bred just they're bigger, stronger.
Uh,
I know we covered it in magic.
yeah, they kind of touch on it there, but you really get the stats for it in other books. And mage-bred creatures, like that thing I sent you about the King of Brelands having those two
Right.
white tigers. Those are mage-bred white tigers,
Oh,
ghost
okay.
tigers, and yeah, that's why it mauled his son for poking it one too many times.
Well, I mean, the kid had it coming. Let's be honest.
Oh yes, I thoroughly agree with that one.
All right, so that is those are the places we're gonna, or the cities we're gonna look at. What do you have picked out for an important site?
Does it have? No, it doesn't. Damn it!
The gloaming.
I was thinking the Twilight Desme, just because.
Okay.
I was hoping they would have at least some coverage of the ancient observatories, but they don't appear to.
Well, we'll have to find that in another book.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the Twilight Demesne. Fae live throughout the Eldeen Reaches. Dryads watch from the trees and
Fossergrims.
Okay. Govern the falls. Pixies dance in the moonlight and satyrs roam the forest floor. Chaotic and capricious, they rarely congregate in large numbers, except in the Twilight Demesne. Every tale about this place of legend puts it deep in the western forest, between the Bayeshk Mountains to the south and the Shadow Crags to the north. The path that leads to the place, however, is different in every story and legend. Some tales speak of walls of thorns that shift with the whim of the Fae. Others describe towers of silver and crystal that only appear when a particular song or dance is performed. Every tale about the Demesne describes a different method for reaching this place. The Greensingers often exchange songs and stories about the Fae of the court, and those who wish to find the Fae of the Demesne generally seek out this Druid sect for assistance. The Demesne is the realm of the Fae court. This court isn't so much the rulers of the Fae, but an ongoing gathering and party that consists of sprites, satyrs, Fae-touched, and all manner of half-elf creatures. In tales, heroes have obtained gifts of fantastic magic by visiting the court, but the Fae are mischievous. A trip to the Twilight Demesne can hold many hidden dangers, and a gift from the Fae court may be less or more than it seems. The entire western region of the Towering Wood is a manifest zone always considered to be coterminous with Thelanis, making the Twilight Demesne a crossroads between the mortal world and the fairy court. The Fae slip between the worlds, and they may pull along unwary mortals when they make the trip.
So it's the Fae made manifest.
Yeah. There's a few things I'd want to talk about there, but
so do it. That's what we're here for.
No, okay. So you know how it's talking about the sometimes there's great spires in the stories, sometimes there's this or that. All of them are true.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it depends on which domain of the Archfey that it connects to. So if it connects to one of the domains of an Archfey who still has their Fey Spire, then you will see a great tower that forms in the distance when you transfer through that manifest zone and appear on the other side. Conversely, if you go through into a domain where during the Age of Giants, remember that whole they broke the moon thing and
Right.
permanently cut off Dalcor? Yeah, well, that had ramifications and it shook the entire world. And at the time, any face spies that were currently manifesting in the real world on Eberron got stuck there. And so when that happened, and a lot of the more chaotic, wild Fey magic started to fade, the Giants decided to try and acquire the magic for themselves. And they raised several of these spies to the ground. And that is how we have modern elves and gnomes in Eberron. They were the enslaved population from those face spires that the Giants raised.
Huh.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm probably coming in. I don't know, which book would that even be in?
So that's covered in Races, Secrets of Zendrick. Races of Eberron, Secrets of Zendrick.
Got it. So lots of little bits all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, it's a Fey court, which I think it makes sense to have it attached to the wood, the deep dark woods.
Adding in that extra fairy tale-ness.
Yeah, exactly. So all right.
But one thing I want to quickly mention. The Archfey of the of Thelanis, they are all bound by a story. Their immortality is in the story that they live in, right?
Okay.
So when the story changes, there's a question of, did the story change because the storytellers, the bards in Eberron, changed the story up, or because the Fae changed the story?
Ooh.
It's a kind of is it a chicken or an egg? Which came first? Who's altering the story?
No, there's so much good deep lore in this.
Oh yeah, it's so awesome. I can't get enough of this shit.
All right, well, I've picked out our adventure idea. 100 years ago, a champion of the Silver Flame disappeared into the Twilight Demesne. The church believes that he was seduced and trapped by the Fae, and now that the last war has ended, they want to rescue their lost hero. In fact, the paladin saved the Fae from a terrible spirit that had seized control of the court, and his memory is revered. The lords of the court still hold the armor and weapons of the noble knight. If a new champion of the flame finds the court and passes the tests imposed by the Fae, she may receive the relics of the fallen hero as a reward.
And you'd have to know that the Fae have probably enchanted those things with extra magic to make them even more powerful.
Right. And cursed, but powerful.
No, I should point out, when I say powerful, it depends on your point of view. Yeah. Because I'm sure that the Fae thought that would be great. But depending on how you fight, you might think, this is an impedance to me. Why would you do such a thing? I am specialized in heavy armor. The armor now counts as a vestment, so it's technically counts as like you're not wearing armor at all. I get none of my bonuses. Why would you do that to me? I thought we were helping.
I mean, regardless, I thought you'd like that little adventure idea.
Well, it came around, but I hate the fact that it has to involve the Silver Flame. Why couldn't it involve our orc buddies from last time? Remember the Guardians of the Demon Wastes?
I know. I'm just saying, I don't think the Fae would necessarily take too kindly to them.
Why? They're Fae.
Because they're a little too brutish for their noble sensibilities.
Have you met the Prince of Frost?
No, I have not.
Okay, just pointing out, he's a little bit brutish.
All right, let's move on to Karrnath. Of the 5 nations founded by the human settlers of Khorvaire, Karrnath has the strongest military tradition. Famous as the birthplace of Galifar himself, the great king who unified the 5 nations, the nation consists of lush forests, fertile plains, and extensive waterways flowing from snow-covered mountaintops to the sea. Once, the borders of Karrnath included most of the land east of the Sion Sound, covering what is now the Mror Holds, the Talenta Plains, Kabara, and the Lazar Principalities. Today, the nation stretches from Sion Sound and the Sire River on the west to the Ironroot Mountains in the east, and from Karn Bay in the north to the start of the Talenta Plains in the south. The nation's name has not changed since the ancient days, before the founding of the 5 nations, when Karn the Conqueror not only established the country that still bears his name, but also tried to conquer and unite all of Khorvaire under his rule. Centuries later, it was another Karn, one of King Galifar's sons, who rededicated the nation to himself in 32 YK, the same year when the 5 nations officially adopted the names of Galifar's 5 eldest children.
Yeah, well, it's very easy to keep the name when you're the one that's still leading, you know.
That's true. I mean, that's fair. During the reign of Jarrett, Galifar's last king, Caius I governed the nation. Third born of King Jarrett's children, Caius was a tall, whip-thin man with intense eyes and a sharp mind. With the death of his father, Caius joined his siblings, Thalin of Thrain and Roan of Breland, in rejecting their eldest sister Mishan's claim to the throne. The last war began as a two-sided affair, Sire and Aundair on one side, attempting to uphold the tenets of Galifar's succession, Breland, Thrain, and Karrnath on the other, rejecting the crowning of Mishan, but unsure how they wanted the question of succession to be settled. It wasn't long before each scion decided that he or she was meant to rule a kingdom, and the initial alliances collapsed in blood and fury. The current ruler of Karrnath, King Caius Irwinarn III, uncannily looks just like his great-grandfather, that scion of Jarrett from whom his name derives. Caius came to power in 991 YK and quickly became one of the most vocal proponents of peace in all the land. He was instrumental in convincing the other nations to attend peace talks at the ancient capital of Thronehold, and consequently was the first to sign the Treaty of Thronehold. Today, Karrnath works hard to keep the current peace from failing. Without any children of his own as yet, Caius has nonetheless exchanged his own brother and sister, as well as the heirs of his most prominent nobles, with the royal families of the other nations to assure cooperation and continued peace. He has taken in 2 of Boronel of Breland's children, Halix and Borina, to help ensure a lasting peace and promote friendship between the 2 nations. Karrnath seeks to improve relations with Aundair and Thrain. 2 of the nations it fought most fiercely during the war. It continues to have a good relationship with the Mror Holds, one of its most staunch allies throughout the war. In the south, to curb continued aggression from the Valinar elves, Karrnath has established a separate alliance with the halfling clans of the Talenta Plains. This alliance has allowed Karrnathi troops to set up forts in halfling territory for the mutual protection of both nations. Yes, it's all out of the goodness of his heart. Or what is left of it.
No, he's still got a heart. It doesn't pump anymore.
Probably hasn't for like 800 years.
Looks uncannily like his great-grandfather. Yeah.
Such
a youthful boy of his, 800s.
I did like that. Uncannily looks just like his great-grandfather.
Yeah, I'm sorry. As soon as you have to show everyone, as soon as we get to that picture of him, assuming they have the picture, they don't have the picture. Oh, you shits. I am going to rapidly find that picture of Caius just to show everyone just what kind of individual we're talking about, just so they know that, you know, not being shallow or anything here. The guy has a thing.
A thing, huh?
Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that. Wow. Even Eberron Wiki has... Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's probably just in a different book. Remember,
Yeah, it
this
is. It's in the Five Nations.
Yeah, see, this is the campaign setting. They're not going to give all the secrets away. They're going to drop a lot of hints. And, you know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just want everyone to see a picture of the man.
Well, present the screen.
Hold on a second.
At least we're professional, folks. What's up, Shag? Do, 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 do. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm just saying. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, or by his actions, or by his stats. But if I saw that man...
Or by the fact that he looks like he's ripped straight out of a certain movie.
Exactly. Red armor and all. The sword as well, let's be fair. Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Like, sure, I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I'm sure he looks just like his great-grandfather.
I think he throws great late-night parties.
Sure, I'm not attending, but you go right ahead. I hear the drinks are to die for.
Yes. A little bit of a coppery aftertaste, but, you know, to die for. Anyways, where are we? All right. Since they have the sidebar, should we read Caius Revealed? Would you like to read it?
Oh, sure thing. Caius Revealed. Caius III keeps a closely guarded secret. It's not really that much of a guarded secret. I'm going to tell you what. He is not who or what he appears to be. Only a handful of people in the inner sanctum of Caius's court have even the slightest inkling that something isn't quite right, and even fewer know the truth of the situation. What is the truth? It's a long, strange tale that boils down to this. Caius III is Caius I. No. When the last war was in full swing, Caius I was approached by priests of the blood of Vol. These priests promised to aid Karnath against its enemies, provided Caius agreed to a few minor considerations.
Look, I got a proposal for you.
I got a proposal you can't refuse. With Sire and Thrain pounding on his borders and a breakdown in diplomatic relations that left Karnath temporarily without allies, Caius agreed to whatever terms the priests had, so long as he was provided with the means to repel the invaders. First, the priests worked with Caius's own court wizards to perfect the process for creating zombie and skeleton troops to bolster Karnath's forces. With the addition of armor and weapons, as well as a slight increase in power, these undead were stronger and more formidable than the average mindless walking corpse. Second, the priest provided an elite fighting force dedicated to both Vol and Caius, the Order of the Emerald Claw. Wow, I never saw that coming. Death cult. The Order will help you here and in distant lands, where its agents will foster unrest and revolution in the homes of your enemies, the priest explained. Both of these gifts gave an immediate boost to Karnath's beleaguered forces, and the Order took credit for internal strife in Sire, Breland, and Onder. When Vol, the ancient lich at the heart of the Blood of Vol cult, appeared before Caius to collect her considerations for the aid her priest provided him, he had no choice but to submit. In addition to allowing the cult to establish temples and bases throughout Karnath, Vol demanded that Caius partake in the Sacrament of Blood. Instead of the usual ceremony, Vol invoked an ancient incantation that turned Caius into a vampire. Instead of becoming a compliant thrall, however, Caius fought to keep his independence. Furious that the vampire refused to be humbled, Vol eventually forced the issue by triggering Caius's bloodlust, something he had been struggling to control. When the crimson haze cleared, Caius discovered that he had killed his beloved wife. He is Dracula, isn't he?
Did you see the outfit?
Now, after 80 years of hiding and secretly working to break all ties with the Blood of Vol, Caius has returned to govern his nation. He has taken the place of his great-grandson, pretending to be Caius III. With the aid of various magic items and abilities, he hides his vampiric nature. A burning desire to rebuild his shattered kingdom drives Caius forward, making him one of the most troubled and dedicated rulers in the land. Now, okay, this is where I have to say one thing. This absolutely screams of someone who, having lost his family to the vampirism, I do like the fact that he is 100% good-willed toward what's his name?
Well, he's lawful evil. So
no, but what's his name? Boronel, King Boronel of Breland. Mm-hmm. He is 100% being honest about having his kids come stay with him to teach and educate them about Karnath and stuff, because he really does want a peace to any kind of war. I just think that.
Well, I mean, he wasn't.
The Blood of Vol can't be trusted.
Well, I mean, duh. But I mean, he wasn't. He thought he was. But anyways, he thought he was trying to help his nation. He clearly, is trying to, protect his nation, build it up, rebuild from the war and whatnot. And so all of our jokes about, him being a vampire, like it says, he hides his vampiric nature, a burning desire to rebuild his shattered kingdom. So he's dedicated. He's a vampire, so he's technically evil, but he's not the things he's doing aren't to be evil. It is, I don't know.
If anything, the lawful nature of his character is more accurate to the evil part.
Right.
The evil is the side of him he's trying to repress.
Right, exactly. And the fact that they pushed for instead of becoming a compliant thrall, he fought to keep his independence. Normally, if somebody gets turned into a vampire, well, you're a vampire and you're just going to do vampire things. That's one reason I don't like the game Vampire. You know, um, like
Play a mage. Come play a mage with me.
no, I like actually my of those settings, my personal favorite is werewolf.
I had a
Mostly
friend werewolf.
what?
I had a friend werewolf.
Well, then the silver flame showed up.
Exactly. The silver flame can't let anyone have nice things. That's what I'm saying.
No, they can't. Anyways, so it is one of those things where it's like, okay, so here's a vampire that's trying to not, or for all intents and purposes, trying to not be a vampire. So I think that I don't know. I like that. Let's see. All right, so anyways, but yeah, so as Max, I think Max hates me anytime I open my mouth. Because
I'm going to say one thing. For once, the Capellan is right.
Well, no. So here's the thing: I only ever played New World of Darkness. I never played original World of Darkness.
You're missing out.
I just. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get back into this. All right. So for our major settlements, we're going to look at Korth. The city of Korth has served as Karnath's capital since before the days of the Kingdom of Galifar. Some of its buildings date back to the earliest human settlements. Many others were built during the Great Expansion that marked the middle period of Galifar I's reign. The Korth skyline rises above the southern shore of the Karn River, with the dense nightwood to the east of the city gates. The high walls of Crownholm, the hereditary home of Karnath's royal family, rise atop King's Hill in the High Court ward of the city. Another prominent structure, the Cathedral of the Sovereign Host, fills a sizable piece of real estate in the Temple Ward and has shrines dedicated to the entire pantheon. In general, the style of the city is heavy and symmetrical, with blocks set forth in a grid or radiating out from a central plaza. Where was I? The militaristic influence that infuses all of Karnath's society permeates Korth and helps define the monolithic appearance of the buildings and decorative features such as monuments, obelisks, and tombs. 5 wards make up Greater Korth, and each ward has its own personality. These wards are named High Court, Temple, Commerce, Community, and Low District. While each ward consists of living space, markets, and other city necessities, each concentrates on an aspect of city life and is built to accommodate that aspect. The High Court ward houses most of the government departments, as well as the halls of the royal family and some of the more affluent noble families. The Temple Ward features winding streets dedicated to the many religions of Corvair. Everything from small shrines to giant cathedrals can be found here. And some representative of even the most obscure cult probably finds a location to preach from within the walls of this ward. The Commerce Ward presents businesses of all types and provides space for the enclaves of the dragon-marked houses. Supply and demand come together inside this sprawling ward. The Community Ward is the most residential ward in Korth, providing housing for the middle class. The Low District is a dangerous maze of narrow streets from which the poor and the destitute attempt to eke out an existence. The criminal element has a firm hold on the Low District, using its twisting warrens as a hiding place and somewhere from which to conduct business best done in the shadows. So I think Shag actually brought up a good point earlier. It's Strahd in a different multiverse. Any thoughts, opinions?
I don't quite agree with that. Caius has enough differences from Strahd to make him his own character. I mean, the fact that he is, you know, yeah, similar but different. I'll give him that.
Yeah. No,
Like,
I don't think it is Strahd. I'm just saying, like the. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like vampire trope and all that, similar to Strahd, but like the themes of his backstory and all that are very different to what Strahd's are. So, and also he's not imprisoned anywhere. So
Right. Yeah, no, I like for me, like reading through it, it just seemed it like Core seemed like a very normal place. So as far as I'm concerned, I would run it like like Ravenloft or something like that. So, again, that's me.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you got for our location?
Fort Bones.
Fort Bones.
I
always get worried when Seraphis gets excited.
Yeah. This outpost guards the border that separates Karnath from the Talenta Plains. The fort is commanded by the Captain of Bones, an honorary title that comes with knights, a fort, and the land around it, and a legion of skeletal soldiers. An old fort had been in place here since before the start of the last war, after it was razed during the Battle of the Long Night. It was rebuilt using the bones of Karnath's enemies. Today, the fort combines brick and stone with the bones of those who have fallen fighting against the defenders of Karnath. The current Captain of Bones, Baird Stonefist, a female dwarf ranger. Wow, that commands a small band of human and dwarf mercenaries bolstered by almost 100 Karnathi skeletons. Stonefist and her troops guard the southern border and stay in regular contact with the Captain of Corpses, who commands Fort Zombie to the north.
Fort Zombie.
Yep.
So Fort Skeleton, Fort Zombie. Do we have Fort Ghoul somewhere?
Yes. And for the record, if you ever siege Fort Zombie or Fort Ghoul, do not breach the gates.
Oh, because they're keeping things in as opposed to keeping things out.
Yes. It's the last thing you want to do is breach those walls because you let everything out. And you do not want to let everything out.
And careful about assaulting Fort Mummy. I mean, at that point, I mean, you're just going to get cursed for showing up.
Although I will say, the fort that we didn't cover in On Dare, Fort Karen, that's the real scary one.
Fort Karen?
Fort Karen. She will see your manager. Thank you very much.
All right. Do you have a particular adventure in mind?
No, I'll just do the last one as I usually like to do.
All right, do our last one.
The adventurers are detained by the royal swords while traveling without proper documents throughout Karnath. The captain of the swords offers them a way out of the delicate situation they find themselves in. Blood of old cultists have been gathering in Lakeside for some unknown purpose. She wants the heroes to find out what the cultists are up to and either stop them if the threat is imminent or return with news of their plans. If the adventurers refuse, the captain promises to send them to Fort Zombie, where the Captain of Corpses can always use a few more recruits. I was not joking. Do not commit a crime in Karnath, in the nation of Karnath, because imprisonment is going to Fort Zombie. Welcome to permanent subscription.
Conscription.
Conscription. Yeah.
Legion of Myth had a good one. I was hoping you'd see it. Fort Karen, also known as Fort Banshee.
Also fits with Ondea.
That's fair. Let's see. Oh, should we cover Thronehold?
It doesn't really get mentioned heavily in Five Nations, so we might as well cover it here.
All right. All right. So then, all right, a little bit of a side quest here. The ancient, what about a Thronehold? That is a completely different book. That is Plumbing of Eberron. But we don't have that book. All right, the ancient capital of the Kingdom of Galifar rests in the middle of Scion Sound. This island, situated between the Five Nations, contains the mighty castle from which King Galifar I and his descendants ruled the continent. A special detachment of House Deneth guards, the Throne Wardens, continues to protect Thronehold to this day, though the guards serve more as caretakers now that the kingdom no longer has a single recognized king. The Throne Wardens maintain the castle and the island around it in anticipation of one day welcoming a new king or queen of Galifar home. They have maintained their post since the death of Jarrett and the start of the last war, though House Deneth has reduced their number to a token force over the years as other duties demanded more manpower. King Caius decided to hold the peace talks to end the last war on this solemn, almost mythical island. Indeed, he was surprised at how the Wardens had kept the place in good repair, and amazed that apparently none of the battle of the last war ever touched the island. It remains a neutral place, a memory in stone of the glory that once spanned the Five Nations.
Yeah, I want to also bring up the fact that the two most battle-hardened leaders of the Five Nations were the ones to be like, yeah, we really want to push for peace.
Yeah?
Because you got King Baranor and King Caius, both who actually lead their armies on the battlefield, and both of them are just like, peace, yep, we're doing this. And what are the others going to do? They combined, they would have the singular most largest army on the entire continent. What are you going to do? Say no to that?
Well, but I mean, it could be the single largest army on the continent, but I mean, think about it. As we've been reading through, it's happened before. Like they're like it all started with grand alliances, and they didn't last. So,
yeah, but this would be an alliance. Well, ironically, this would be an alliance for peace.
I mean,
you don't have to kill anybody. You can just,
I'm just
embargo
saying,
a capital and be like, you're not getting your supplies until you agree to the terms. Just stop fighting.
I don't believe it. So,
could you imagine the army with banners, with their banner lords all up at the front, just with giant signs on them saying, "Give peace a chance."
We're here for war. Give peace a chance. All right. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we can get through this. Sure. I think you're up for the opening.
Oh, dude, I'm up for this group anyway.
Awesome.
A loose confederacy of pirate lords, sea barons, and merchant princes controls the area east of the Hoarfrost. Really, Hoarfrost? Hoarfrost Mountains.
You know that's a thing, right?
Yeah, I know, but I also like the word whore.
I mean, okay, that's. I'm just. You just seemed like you didn't know that hoarfrost was a real word.
Yeah, no. It was more that my brain, like ran it through, and then my brain also complimented that I also said whore, and it is the same pronunciation.
You got side quested.
Yeah, I got side quested.
All right, cool.
Whores. I am not married, thank you very much. You see any rings here?
I'm married. I don't have a ring on. I hate jewelry.
I'm not
anyway.
married. I'm living in blasphemy, thank you very much. As a good pirate should.
Anyhow.
The ship of the continent's eastern shore, along with the chain of islands that wraps around the coast and extends north into the Bitter Sea, makes up the region known as the Lazar Principalities. Named for the near mythical explorer who led the humans to Corvair some 3,000 years ago, the Lazar Principalities have always been grouped together, even though the individual princes rarely see themselves as part of a greater whole. Oh, it's the Middle East. Demonetized.
I'm still chuckling, but Kim is calling for help, so I gotta mute it.
Yeah, it's okay. Did I just no? The principalities developed during the same period when the Five Nations were formed, more than 1,000 years before the birth of Galifar. By the time King Galifar I was uniting the Five Nations, the principalities were well established, as was their inhabitants' well-deserved reputation as raiders and pirates. When Galifar proclaimed that his kingdom stretched across the width and breadth of Corvair, the Lazar princes ignored him.
I like that. Cool story, bro.
Their domains were far from the great cities of the Five Nations, separated by a formidable mountain range and the endless sea of which the princes ruled supreme. By 28 YK, King Galifar had fortified his hold over the Five Nations and turned his attention to the threat from the east. The Lazar princes and sea barons were wreaking havoc among the coastal communities, interfering with shipping and refusing to bend to the will of the crown. Thus began the Galifar-Lazar War, as a series of naval engagements that lasted nearly a decade. The sea barons knew the currents better and started out with better vessels, but Galifar dedicated his efforts to building a powerful navy. Aided by magic and the help of some of the dragon-marked houses, Galifar was able to garner enough victories to force the Lazar princes to meet to discuss terms. In the end, the principalities became part of Galifar's kingdom, but remained autonomous. The Galifar princes, more or less independent within their own domains.
Lazar princes. Lazar princes. You said Galifar princes.
Galifar's right above it.
I told you I would only correct you if I felt it was important. I thought that was funny. A reasonable reason.
I believe you said important or funny.
And this is both.
Yes. More or less independent within their own domains, yet agreeing to pay tribute to Galifar and recognize him as the legitimate ruler of the mainland kingdom. For the next 800 years, the Lazar princes continued to live in relative harmony with the Five Nations. Lazar pirates slowly developed into traders and explorers, keeping their illicit activities to a minimum as to not attract the attention of Galifar's ever-improving navy. When the last war broke out, the Lazar princes initially stayed out of the fray. As the months of conflict and unresolved issues of rulership wore on, the princes decided that their long-standing agreement with the United Galifar, not the individual successor kingdoms, was with the United Galifar, not with the individual successor kingdoms. With the kingdom shattered, the princes felt no obligation to honor their ancient pact.
And we broke Seraphis, folks.
To be fair, I do this all the time.
Yes, folks, he's bad at this, but we like him, so he gets to stay.
During the century of conflict, the Lazar princes, one by one, reverted to their ancient ways. First, the princes and their subjects fought against each other for dominance in the principalities. Then they turned their sights towards more lucrative prey. Throughout the war, Lazar's ships engaged in piracy, hired out as privateers, and began to carve out their own pieces from the corpse of the once great kingdom. Under the leadership of Prince Rhaegar Eowyn, who claims that the royal blood of Galifar flows through his veins, the principalities settled their own differences long enough to prevent a united front at the peace treaty talks on Thronehold. Now, with the principalities recognized as a legitimate confederacy by the rest of Corvair, the princes have once again traded their pirate flags for the colors of merchants, at least outwardly. What may be a merchant vessel today can switch its flag and sail as a pirate or raiding vessel tomorrow. Prince Rhaegar is determined... No, they didn't yet. Prince Rhaegar is determined to unite the principalities and create a naval force, the likes of which Corvair has never seen before. Then, whatever happens on the mainland, the principalities will be safe, secure, and powerful beyond imagining. Unfortunately, none of the other princes are quite ready to bend their knees to Rhaegar, and so his dream remains unfulfilled.
Pirate kings. So, yeah, again, it's another nation that I think this alone. I mean, you can have some fun with the setting. You know, depending on what you want to do for a campaign. I mean, if you want to do a pirate campaign, this is perfectly set up for it. Are you kept catching up with chat?
No, I was trying to remember whether Rhaegar was the prince that's featured in one of the other books, but apparently he's not. Because I'm obviously confusing him with someone else. But one of the more influential princes of the Lazar principalities has a airship, an elemental ship, and he's an Azamar with full-blown wings.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's rather hilarious because, he's got a flying ship and he's an Azamar with wings who can just naturally fly if he wants to. So it's fun.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna add one here because I do think this is a little important. I just noticed this as I was scrolling through. All right. So we've got our map of the Lazar principalities, and right now we're going to be talking about this little section right here. Far to the north, on the frozen island of Farlnan, the lich called Vol holds court. In the halls of Ilmaro Castle, among the ice-laden peaks of the Fingerbone Mountains, that's a word, Lady Vol nurtures her plans for domination and revenge. In life, Vol was the heir to the fortunes of House Vol. She carried the mark of death and proudly proclaimed her heritage as both elf and green dragon. Her half-dragon blood, once thought to be a way to end the elf-dragon wars, eventually led to the eradication of House Vol, as both elves and dragons declared the mixing of the species to be an abomination. Lady Vol survived the destruction of her family, but became an undead creature, a lich. In the centuries that followed, she gathered followers to her side and created the cult of the Blood of Vol, as well as more recently the Order of the Emerald Claw, which secretly serves her. Cultists loyal to Vol spread word of her religion throughout the Lazar Islands, and a handful of people among the principalities consider it their primary religion. Most followers know nothing of Vol the Lich or her history. Instead, they worship the idea that blood is life and that undeath provides a life beyond death and a path to divinity. Vol uses her highly placed loyalists to gather information and issue suggestions to the sea princes and their advisors. In many cases, Vol is the power behind the throne, both in the principalities and in unexpected places on the mainland. So I wasn't expecting to cover power players, but you know, when when you catch the reference to, you know, the mark of death.
A half-elf dragon? Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So if you want to use the blood of Vol, it's right here. All right. What do we got for settlements?
Well, we've either got the, I guess, the main port of call, Regal Port, or we've got Port Verge.
Verge sounds minor. Go ahead and do Regal Port.
Regal Port. The port of call for the Sea Dragons and the capital. The Sea Dragons are Prince Rhaegar's
Principality
fleet, basically. And the capital of High Prince Rhaegar's principality. Regal Port lies on the shore of a protected bay on the pleasant island of Greentarn. I don't know why my brain is having a hard time going through that one. House Thorani's headquarters, a large enclave not far from the docks, helps make this one of the most modern and prosperous towns in the principalities. House Orion has a major outpost here, as does House Galander. Rigport is also home to one of the largest markets east of Moorholds, the bustling pirate exchange. Hey, just like where I live.
All right.
I'm just saying, in Australia, where I live is not only where we make the best submarines, but also where the Australian stock market is.
Okay.
Yeah. See, how much more pirate can I get?
Let's see. Oof. Dreadhold, the Ship of Bones, or Trebaz Sinara? What do you prefer? These are all good.
Surprise me.
Dreadhold's a prison. I want to do Trebaz Sinara. This uninhabited island supposedly hides the loot of 2,000 years worth of pirate raids and tombs even older than that, dating back to the original human settlement of the continent. Legends claim that the island was used as a hiding place for every kind of treasure, pieces of gold, dragon shards, relics, ever gathered in a pirate raid by the ancient Lazarite sea princes. Unfortunately, the island is surrounded by treacherous reefs and is home to all manner of terrible monsters and beasts, making landings difficult and prolonged searches dangerous at best and fatal in most cases. All right, and for the adventure, one of the inspired wishes to hire heroes to retrieve something from a tomb on Trebaz Sinara, an item said to have been brought from Sarlona by the mythic explorer Lazar herself. He provides directions and warnings of how to locate the tomb and avoid the worst of the dangers guarding it. The heroes can keep all of the treasure except for one oddly shaped stone, which he says is of great historical significance.
It's a docent.
It's a what?
It's a docent.
What is that?
Well, let me put it this way. If an inspired wants something that just looks like a regular old stone and nothing else out of a treasure trove, it's probably a docent.
Okay, what's a docent?
It's a magical artifact or magical item that a warforged can put into themselves, and it has an intelligence inside of it. Rumor has it that they were prototype devices developed by the Dreaming Light, the previous era of Dalcor, when they were good. And it was a way for them to manifest themselves in Eberron.
So what you're saying is that the Warforged are actually Corey.
No. A Warforged with a docent might be a Corey.
I mean, I don't know. It kind of sounds like I mean, why do they have a way to plug that thing in anyways?
Because we're all just copying the same template, right? Do you ever no, you didn't. What's a good example? Battletech, right? If you look at how like certain if you look at the way the Inner Sphere basically developed quote unquote new mechs after the fall of the Star League, everything kind of follows a similar progressional path. And then when the clans came in, you had all these different designs that, you know, their targeting systems would mess up with and call things and, you know, cross identify things as, you know, a catapult and a marauder. Hence why the Timberwolf is the Mad Cat. Right. So Warforged are, oh look, I created a I have a Phoenix Hawk, right? And then the next one down the line, oh well, we couldn't really make the boosters anymore, so here's a Stinger. Well, we need to cut down a few things, so here's a Wasp. Or is it Wasp then Stinger? I can't remember which one's the lighter one. Anyway,
Stinger's the lighter one.
Stinger's the lighter one. So Wasp then Stinger. It's basically that. It's, oh, we couldn't keep doing this because there was not enough manufacturing for it. So we'll cut this stuff out and then we'll cut this stuff out. Modern Warforged are basically the end result of that. So they still have that base design components where, you know, any Warforged artifacts that they find on Zendrick can be easily implemented into them.
Got it. I was just suspecting, like the way you described it, that, you know, Warforged were made as another way to get the Corey out of the realm of dreams and into the real world.
Oh yeah, but that was just original Warforged. Think of them like a mech suit or an encounter suit.
Right.
There's nothing in there though.
Right. So that's why. So like the original design would have been to let the Corey, you know, plug that docent in, and then they go riding around in a Warforged suit. Yeah.
But current modern Warforged, they've essentially got a. Well, there's a couple of rumors about what Sire and House Karnath actually did, but we're probably
nothing
never
official.
Going to know. Huh?
Nothing official.
Nothing official. Yes.
Got it.
Nothing legal, probably either. But I'm guessing that most of the Warforged, modern Warforged of Corvair, probably possess their own intelligence and sentience, independent of any kind of docent, which is reflected in the material in Magic of Eberron and this book and Secrets of Zendrick.
Got it. Cool. All right. Well, let's keep going because we're only up to the Mornland and we're trying to cut things down.
How's that working out?
Debatable.
Oh my god, the next one's more holds.
Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, you're going to want the more holds, so I'll take the Mornland.
Okay.
All right. Once Sire shown more brightly than any of its sibling nations in the kingdom of Galifar. The last war took a toll on the nation and its citizens, slowly toppling its many achievements as it became the battleground on which the armies of Karnath and Thrain and Breland clashed. Finally, disaster struck. No one knows if the catastrophe was caused by a weapon from an enemy nation or a doomsday device of Sire's own design. The cataclysm may have been deliberate. It may have been an accident. In the end, the result was the same. Beautiful Sire, jewel of Galifar's vast holdings, exploded in a blast of arcane power, the likes of which hadn't been seen since the ruin of Zendrick 40,000 years before. On the day of mourning in 994 YK, Sire disappeared. Now the region that was once Sire goes by a different, darker name. Now it is simply the Mournland. A dead gray mist hugs the borders of the Mournland, creating a barrier that only occasionally offers a glimpse of the desolation and devastation inside. Beyond the mist, this battle-scarred region remains a grim memory of the last war. Cloaked in perpetual twilight, like a wound that will not heal, the land is broken and blasted. In some places, the ground has fused into jagged glass. In others, it is cracked and burned and gouged. Broken bodies of soldiers from various sides litter the landscape. Soldiers whose dead bodies refuse to decompose. The Mournland is quite literally a vast open grave. In the Mournland, the wounds of war never heal. Vile magical effects linger, and monsters mutate into even more foul and horrible creatures. Arcane effects continue to rain upon the land like magical storms that never dissipate. Misshapen by the unnatural forces present across the region, monsters rage and hunt as they struggle to survive. Sometimes even some of the dead, animated by strange powers radiating from the blasted ground, rise up to continue fighting the war that has long since ended for the living. In this land of disaster and mutation, a charismatic warforged gathers followers to his side and seeks to build an empire of his own. So this I think is nice and different. You know, the everlasting battlefield. You know, the fact that magic and you know nature just don't work properly anymore. Yeah, there's probably more information in the last war book, but I would have liked just like a solid book about the Mournland.
What do you mean the last war?
The book, The Last War.
Oh, the novel.
No. There was a source book.
Oh, you mean the Forge of War?
Forge of War. There. No, I knew what I was saying. I knew what I meant.
Oh yeah, that's got some really dark shit in it.
So,
coming never. Let me put it that way.
Any other comments?
I will say that that book, out of all of them, could be the only one that could be called out for being woke, because in it they have a section about characters who have disabilities and stuff from the last war, and how to play a character who might be, say, missing an arm, or missing a leg, or missing both their legs.
Does he get a combat wheelchair?
No, surprisingly enough, apparently you can get Warforged legs put on you, so you don't need a fucking wheelchair. You fuck nuggets.
Well, because we're no longer family friendly. No, but I like, okay, to address Goths and Rome's comment. The thing is, like, I think, okay, number one, you are dealing with a magical society, but again, you know, it's something that is going to come up, you know, in a setting that is based on like the end of a war, you know, that like literally a 100 years war. And I almost said 1,000, but you know, and then on top of that, like, as we've already established, you know, not House Lorandar, the gnome, or not the gnome, the halfling healing house, Jarasco. The fact that they basically control healing, and none of it's cheap. So you think
But magical healing isn't cheap.
Well, right.
Healing is available to everyone.
Sure, but I mean, you're not going to get new legs, with a regenerate spell, from natural or from, normal healers.
No, you're going to pay an artificer probably 50 to 100 gold for a prosthetic arm that's made from Warforged technology, for a Warforged graft.
Right, exactly. So yeah, but that's the other thing is it's still not presented in such a way of, oh yeah, your character in a wheelchair, is going to go adventuring through the ruins of Zendrick. But
Zendrick is not wheelchair accessible.
Zendrick is not wheelchair accessible.
I'm just saying that now.
Goths, Eberron doesn't have safe words. That's the point.
I don't think Kaiba would be especially into safe words anyway.
Not so much, no. Anyways, yeah, it's like there's reasons to have that with your characters, but again, I think they do still address it, like you said, like an artificer or something, would give you a way around your disability, as opposed to, oh yeah, combat wheelchair, that'll work.
Oh man, could you imagine some air elemental legs from an elemental graft? That would be amazing. Just like permanently being able to levitate and fly and stuff. Just wee.
Sure.
Wee. Oh man, you could get a great job in Shan.
I mean, yeah.
Come on, Full Catcher. There's already a business of people with, Eternal Ones with levitate or featherfall, on them, to whenever someone falls, to catch them and then have them pay for being rescued.
Right.
So clearly there's already a business. Imagine just being able to just whoosh, grab someone and drop them down safely. Like, come on. You could easily pay off your fee, is all I'm saying.
Nice. All right. Read about our major city. Or what's left of it.
I was about to say, what's left of it? All right. Metro. This great city was once the capital of Sire. Now it lies empty, waiting forlornly along the Sire River for its people to return. Parts of Metro have been shattered, its buildings crushed and tumbled by whatever force decimated the nation. Other portions of the city escaped with only superficial damage. Aside from the absence of people and the dead grey shroud of mist that hangs over the area, it looks much as it did before the nation fell. While the days in Metro are quiet, the nights bring a cacophony of chaos and violence to the streets of the fallen metropolis. At night, the ghost beasts prowl and howl and wail. The scavengers who plunder Metro for abandoned riches have described the ghost beasts as vaguely humanoid in shape, but with hairless, translucent skin that appears to glow with a pale inner light. Some of these scavengers believe that the ghost beasts are guardian spirits left behind by the royal family of Sire to protect the city. Huh? Oh, no. Others say that they are the ghosts of the city's dead. Most, however, don't care what they are. They either avoid the place or attempt to kill the creatures if they get in their way. Structures still believed to be more or less intact in Metro include the royal palaces of Vermishard, the great cathedral on the hill devoted to the sovereign host, the huge lightning rail station that once served as the gateway to the west, and the wondrous Metro Arena, where great games, performances, celebrations, and competitions once enthralled the crowds.
Okay, so it's a city.
Yeah. Eston's actually a pretty interesting one because that was the Eston was the first city of Sire actually built. Metro was built as the capital, but Eston was actually the original city. And House Cannith used to have all their stuff there when they were still unified before they broke up into west, east, and south.
Yeah, I mean it's so, but I mean, so that's probably, is that where you're gonna find the creation forge? Or
Which one?
Eston.
Eston is believed to be the location of the 3 cathedral forges.
What is a cathedral forge?
They are creation forges so big that they created not only batches, let me repeat myself, batches of colossal Titan Warforged, but they could create a single army in a day.
So massive forges.
Massive trinary of forges, which probably meant that Eston was built on top of at least one manifest zone. More likely 3 if it had 3 there.
All right then. All right. Let's see. We've got the Dead Gray Mist, the Glass Plateau, and the Field of Ruins. And oh, that's right. I wanted to look at the Glowing Chasm. All right.
Really, we're going with the chasm again?
Yeah.
After last time, when it was stinking and it kept erupting.
I mean, I don't know. I have a feeling this one's going to have a lot less fart jokes.
To be fair, they were classy.
They were. That was done very well. All right. The Glowing Chasm. North of the Glass Plateau, a great crack in the ground gives forth a cold purple light. The supernatural glow emanates from deep within the glowing chasm, so far down that its source can't be identified from above. And to date, no one who's descended into the chasm has come out alive again. The mutated monsters that roam the Mournland seem drawn to this location, and some believe that the purple glow had a role in creating them. While the glow might not be related to the origin of the mutated monsters, it definitely has an effect on these creatures. Those that spend any significant time near the glowing chasm mutate further, becoming even more twisted and misshapen than they were prior to bathing in the cold purple light. What? What did I miss?
I know what the purple light is.
Kyber?
Specifically, I think it might be Kyber's eye. I think that might be where he's breaching through and looking up at the world. Because that would explain why everything that is drawn near to it, or the foul beasts or fell beasts that are drawn towards it, become more mutated. And if it stretches so deep into the ground that you can't see the bottom, and yet a glow emanates out of it, oh come on, that is straight up Dragon Below shit.
I mean, I can go with that. Let's see. All right. Last bit for our adventure, because I like this one. A lightning rail
rail?
coach
Yeah.
never finished its trip across Sire on the day of mourning. House Orion needs adventurers willing to follow the path of conductor stones, find the lost train, and bring back the near priceless works of Siren art being shipped in its luggage compartment, enabling the couriers to finally complete their long-delayed delivery. Really? A train heist for some art? I think they could have done something a little bit more exciting with it. But I actually do like that. The fact that where is it? Here we go. The fact that, I mean, these dotted red lines, that's lightning rail stops or paths. So, that's another thing I wonder is if the conductor stones still work. And so can the lightning rail make it through the Mournland? I don't know. This is one of those where if you're going to get into Eberron, this is just one of those big mysteries that exists in Eberron that has never, the truth of it has never really been told. To be fair, what were they going to loot from the train that was more exciting? That's fair, but when I went to read it, I wasn't expecting an art heist. I'm not sure what else could be more exciting. It could be a relic. It could be, an item that is something that belongs to like the head of a household or something. I don't know. It just near priceless works of Siren art just doesn't seem very exciting to me. Anyways, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry, I had a phone call.
No, I'm clearly upset. I think I filled in nicely.
To be fair, that treasure, Siren art, Siren art, yeah, okay, sure. Ancient artisan art of Syra, however, is probably more going to be infused with dragon shards and magic. So, like, did you ever see the Doctor Who special where they looked at that painting and the painting animated, showing the fall of the Time Lord city of Arcadia?
No, but I mean, I do remember, the painting of Vigo the Carpathian.
Yeah, there's a good example. Oh, finally a Ghostbusters reference you freaking get. Okay, fine. So,
I got to watch those in the theater, by the way.
Okay, you're old. We get it.
Yes, I'm old.
You've been to England. You've met Monty Cook. You've played a game with Monty Cook. Well, you know what? I am a dwarf and I'm going to dig this hole. So, diggy fucking diggy hole. Okay.
And apparently, real quick, Goth says, screw your magic items. A train of elephants is where the real magic is at. I think we could go with that.
What did I miss while I was on the phone?
I read the adventure and then I'm like, oh, it's an art heist. That's a little disappointing. And then he says, what else were they going to loot? Drugs, slaves, drugs, elephants, a train of elephants.
I mean, technically, there's the wondrous item set collection of the magic figurines. You could have a box of onyx elephants. No, ivory elephants. and then you activate their command word, and you've all of a sudden got an army of magic elephants.
See, there you go. You get magic and elephants.
Now all you need is to have made them mage-bred elephants first, and then you've got magic mage-bred elephants.
All right, let's read about some dwarves. No, it's fine.
For thousands of years, blood ran like water through the cracks and crevices of the Ironroot Mountains. Of course, that's what it was. When the barbaric dwarves weren't killing one another, they struggled against the Jarashtar orcs and other vicious creatures that lurked in the depths of the Great Mountains. Then, in the early days of the Kingdom of Galifar, the Great King gave his son Khan the lands east of Sion's Sound to govern and tame. A united dwarf nation might have resisted the Galifar expansion, but the feuding clans were too weak to challenge Khan and his forces. The dwarfs reluctantly acquiesced and became subjects of Karnath, one of the 5 nations of Galifar. The clans ceased fighting among themselves and slowly began to build a civilization. With a vast fortune of mineral wealth and the discovery of the Mark of Warding among one of their dwarf clans, the clans became an economic force within the kingdom. In 106 YK, House Kundarak was admitted into the exclusive membership of the Dragon-marked houses, and by the end of the century, it controlled banking and financial concerns across the continent. By the start of the last war, the barbarians had transformed into a thriving mercantile clans. The old feuds still simmer beneath the surface, but the clans recognized the value of peace and cooperation. The Dwarf Lords declared their independence from Karnath at the First Iron Council in the year 914 YK. The gathered Dwarf Lords created a formal alliance of the Dwarf clans and proclaimed the birth of a new nation, the Mror Holds. Kundarak officially remains neutral, staying true to the tenets of the Dragon-marked houses, and thus is technically not part of the formal alliance. The smiths and masons of the dwarfs have learned much over the last 1,000 years, and the mountain fortresses of the Mror Lords are said to be impregnable. The dwarfs, however, have little interest in conquest. The power of the Holds is iron and gold, and on this field, they have few competitors.
All right. I got to say, the thing that I liked most was when the barbaric dwarves weren't killing one another. Not usually a description you see applied to dwarves.
Well, here, they like to kill one another.
No, and that's fine. I'm pointing it out as, hey, they did something a little different.
Yeah.
You know, like I was less surprised about dinosaur riding halflings than I was about barbaric dwarves.
Have you never played Warhammer Fantasy?
I still don't look at those dwarves as barbarians. I mean, unless you're specifically talking about the Slayers, but you know, even then, those are more based off of Scotsmen as opposed to what I traditionally consider barbarians.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Do you want to do the settlements in the site? Because these are all small.
Yeah. So, Krona Peak. Located in Moranon Hold, Krona Peak serves as the seat of the Iron Council and thus is the closest thing the Mror Holds have to a capital. This center of commerce provides a major connection to the Western nations. Corran's throne, Corvair's largest temple to the sovereign lord of world and wealth, dominates the cityscape. Did you want me to do Corundar Gate?
That's up to you.
Yeah, I'll do Corundar Gate.
Okay.
Corundar Gate, the central city of Kundarak Hold, is the birthplace of House Kundarak. While the house has long since spread across Corvair, Corundar Gate is still the greatest seat of its power and the home of the House Patriarch and his staff. The mountains beneath Corundar Gate contain treasure vaults filled with platinum and gold mined by the house itself, as well as artifacts stored for its clients.
All right. Important sites. All right. The Fist of Onatar, which is down here. This active volcano rumbles with magical energy. It lies within Moranon Hold, and the dwarves guard the site with jealous zeal. They believe it is a sacred place tied to the god Onatar, while scholars from Onder believe the powerful dragon shards hum beneath the lava. So apparently dragon shards are lava resistant.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you get the right glassing of kyber in your lava, the resulting glass is called blood glass, and it retains an essence of the kyber dragon shard's ability to bind spells and elemental creatures and things like that.
Oh, all right.
It's a less kyber dragon shard, basically.
Kyber dragon shard, but a little less evil.
Basically. Although I would still never call any of the dragon shards like based on the alignment of the dragon that they come from, because it'd be like saying the flake of my skin is also chaotic good. You know? Like, it's a skin flake. It's nothing.
Yeah, but it's from you, so I could definitely see it being chaotic good.
It could be chaotic evil.
All right, read our adventure idea for us.
The vaults of House Kundarak are said to be impregnable. Adventurers are hired to break into them and recover an artifact stored since before the start of the last war. If they succeed, many claimants, from the Church of the Silver Flame to agents of the Dreaming Dark, will try to gain the artifact by fair means or foul.
Well, I mean, the Dreaming Dark would use foul means, but the Church of the Silver Flame would never do anything foul.
You're a horrible person, and it's a good thing you're in another country.
I'm in a real country.
Who's currently on their season finale? Good luck with that.
I mean, we'll see what happens. All right.
4 years of your country not bothering my country, I'm happy with that. Imagine my country where the CIA aren't dictating everything.
I'm actually okay with that. But anyways. All right. The frontier nation of Kabara, settled within the past 70 years and recognized by the Thronehold Accords, remains a dangerous, unstable place. Even so, more than 100,000 settlers call it home and fight to keep it despite the troubles and dangers that surround them. For centuries, some people put their loyalty to Galifar above their ties to any single nation. Such folk were traumatized when the last war shattered the kingdom they loved. Among these patriots was Duke Ven Irkeslan of Sire, who petitioned for and was granted rights to settle the land east of the Endworld Mountains. Here in the jungle peninsula called Kabara by the Lazar pirates, who first discovered it, the Siren noble envisioned a land where those who refused to fight their brothers and sisters and cousins could start a new kingdom based on the ideals of ancient Galifar. The settlers formed a huge flotilla of ships of all sizes and headed out to follow the coast to any hospitable bay in the Kabaran jungle. Drawn from all the 5 nations, the members of Irkeslan's expedition included scholars, lesser nobles, clergy, and common folk who opposed the war and saw hope in the Duke's plan. After a long and arduous sea journey, made even more treacherous due to piracy and war, only 4 out of every 6 vessels that sailed from Syre reached the Adder Bay, where the exiles established the town that would become Adderport. Impressed by the beauty of the land and trusting the mountains and seas to shield them from ravages of war, Irkeslan vowed his new nation would remain true to the ideals that held Galifar together for almost 1,000 years. Over time, the region attracted new settlers, idealists who shared Irkeslan's beliefs, and refugees who sought a safe haven from the war. Some of these later arrivals included outlaws, war criminals, defeated troops, and most recently, displaced Sirens. Not all these disparate groups get along. Added to these tensions, the settlers must deal with the dangers that lurk in the jungle itself. Duke Irkeslan had seen no signs of humans. Indeed, the Lazar pirates considered the peninsula cursed and assumed Kabara was uninhabited. He was mistaken. More than 10,000 years ago, the Dakani Empire drove the lizard folk of the Talenta Plains across the Endworld Mountains and into the swamps and jungles of Kabara. The lizard folk dwelt mainly in the northern Kabara, along the Torva River and in the Basura Swamp. As the settlers spread throughout the Adder Valley and into the jungle beyond, they began despoiling lizard folk holy sites without realizing it. The poison dusk lizard folk took to ambushing settlers, and 29 years ago, the Cold Sun tribes launched an assault on the human invaders. The settlers, taken by surprise, suffered serious casualties in the first months of the conflict. Ultimately, the magical skills and superior weapons of the humans turned the tide, and the lizard folk retreated to the northern swamps. Though truces have been struck and full-scale war avoided, the settlers of Kabara must still contend with hostile lizard folk. Valinar warbands, Lazar raiders, and kobold marauders from the Endworld Mountains, recent discoveries of large deposits of Eberron dragon shards have brought House Tharashk and a swarm of prospectors to the region. Tensions among the various groups of settlers continue to run high, especially with the arrival of large numbers of Siren refugees. Aside from the lizard folk and kobolds, Kabara is home to all manner of dinosaurs, dire and horrid reptiles, and giant and venomous vermin. Finally, a dark and ancient force bides its time in the deep jungle, waiting for its moment to strike. Okay. So...
Kabara, no wonder all the humans left.
All right. Obviously dominated by lizard folk.
Yeah. Kabara is basically where the Danish landed in Australia before the English. They saw a giant desert waste and went, nah, and left. And then the English appeared on the other side of the country and were like, we could dump prisoners here.
This isn't too horrible. All right. Tell us about New Throne. If you ever get there.
Am I on the right page? What the hell is that?
You got to scroll down a couple pages, I think.
Yep. Sorry.
That's okay.
I was 2 pages off. Okay. So, New Throne. A port city on the mouth of the White Cliff River, where the river... Oh my god, fucking motorbikes. I swear to God. Where the river empties into Adder Bay, New Throne is the largest city in Kabara. It is also the seat of government for King Sebestus Irkeslan and the community of New Galifar. Like all New Galifar communities, New Throne is heavily fortified, and over the past 30 years, it has repelled multiple attacks by Lazar pirates and the lizard folk of the Cold Sun tribes. While the city contains outposts devoted to many of the dragon-marked houses, More travelers and merchants hailed from the Lazar principalities and Riadra than from the inland nations of Corvair. Although not as grand and full of history as the great cities of the Five Nations, New Throne has been built to replicate the architecture of Old Galifar. In some ways, it looks like a small portion of Sire or Breland has been picked up, polished, and dropped in the Kabaran jungle.
Okay. Let's see here. All right. Hakatorvak. Carved into the side of an enormous volcano, the ancient city of Hakatorvak, the throne of the holy dragons, serves as the center of the Kabaran lizard folk religion. In the Age of Demons, it was one of the great citadels of the fiends and the site of a massive battle between the fiends and the dragons. In the end, the most powerful fiends were bound into the fires deep beneath the city, and the draconic guardians were left to watch over the place for eternity. The current guardian, the black dragon Rashak, has been corrupted by his post, but remains bound to his duty. A stunning metropolis of brass and volcanic glass, Hakatorvak extends deep into the volcano behind it. Powerful magic shields the city from the threat of an eruption, but smoke still rises from the mountain peak. Rashak's black-scale lizard folk guardians live in the jungle around the base of Hakatorvak, but only priests, sacred warriors, and living sacrifices are allowed into the city to gaze upon the countenance of the living god. The city contains a vast hoard of treasure assembled from millennia of sacrifices to the dragon guardians, as well as hidden artifacts from ancient times. In addition to the black-scale lizard folk and the black dragon, a wide range of half-fiend and half-dragon creatures spawned over the centuries protect the city and its treasures, not to mention dinosaurs, lesser fiends, and other foul beasts.
So that's actually the city of Hakatui.
Yes.
Hey, your country invented this crap, so... Hakatui.
Let's see. I mean, I agree with Goss. Like, I actually want to read more about this about this nation, but we're just trying to get through stuff, and we're at our 2-hour mark. Here, pick an adventure for us, and then we'll. The
Wayfinder Foundation, the Aurum, and the Dreaming Dark all seek a relic from the Age of Demons, but the artifact is in Kar-Rashanan, and it is only brought out during the Great Gathering of the 24 tribes.
Okay. I mean, if you want to piss off all of the lizard folk at once, sounds like a good idea.
Oh, I know, right? Also, a relic from the Age of Demons. Seriously? No one has warning bells about that?
Why would they? So, all right. I mean, overall, I think this was, kind of just some nice, fantasy tropes on it. We did well.
We're getting better.
So interesting. The shadow marches don't make it into the table of contents. Anyways, we did almost 30 pages today.
Well, yeah, by skipping over a lot. And
I know, and we still have another 30 pages to go for this freaking chapter.
Remember when you were like, "Oh, we can get through this in like one session."
I thought if we cut all that stuff out, we could. Anyways, but I mean, I'll say it again. I think that is one of the strengths about the setting is the fact that they did put this much thought into it. And like when I was watching videos about like Mystara and some of the other campaign settings where a lot of the stuff just like they just kind of did random things, and like they don't match up with each other. It was just like, oh, we're gonna do this, and here it's this Arabic based civilization, and it's right next to this South American based civilization, and it was just random and kind of thrown together. I think they put a lot more thought into it. So, I do like what they were doing with it. So, all right. Well, my voice is going. Any last thoughts before we end it for the night?
Well, I want to see more on the Endworld mountains, because I think Goth really wants to hear more about the Endword. But no, hopefully we can get through the last of this life in the world section next time, and we can finally start talking about something else.
I know.
Although I will say, it's getting a little bit better in the writing, where it's not repeating itself so much. But then again, that could also be because we're not reading a lot of the sections too, where it's repeating itself. So,
yeah, exactly. I mean, I kind of regret skipping over some of that, but as I'm going through, it's like I don't think we're really missing anything. The overview does mention okay, these are important houses, this is important stuff, but it's just a couple of sentences. And I think for this kind of a setting, I think it does work out well. So
yeah.
Anyhow, all right. Well, folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us. As I said, next week, do not plan on a stream. It is going to be Christmas Day, so I'm not going to promise anything, even though for Seraphis it is not Christmas Day.
26th or the 27th. What
right.
is it for me?
It would be Boxing Day for you.
Oh yeah, Boxing Day.
So, anyways, but if we're not here next week, we will absolutely be here on the 1st, and we're finishing Life in the World on the 1st. I don't care what happens. So there.
I'll try not to drink on New Year's so that I end up in hospital severely ill, because apparently alcohol doesn't agree with me anymore.
It's because you're a dad. Anyhow, so with that said, folks, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe if you're new here. But otherwise, we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.